on, Ron. Bethany, are you going to get us started?
I can. I don't know if Steve would rather do that.
Okay.
Can I get us started, Mike?
I'm the one that requested it. Okay, hold on.
Right at the end of the workshop where the road chapters talked to y'all about scrap and Scott programs, we understood a deadline for the Scott. We got an agenda item for the next board meeting for Scott scrap and CGIP recommending all the roads, but we need to go ahead and submit our Scott, try to get ahead, not to.
Follow me.
And I'll talk to y'all at the end of the next
Are you going to get us started, Cleve?
I can do
Randy,
it.
I'm sorry, Randy is.
Oh, okay. Or you can do it.
I had requested this workshop because of the changing the acceptance of the road criteria to 90%. When I first looked at it, it sounded like a great idea to me because I used to do Cleve's job running the road department. And but I've received several calls, and after thinking about it, and the unintended consequences that's out there is that when someone goes to get a mortgage on a house, let's say, whatever subdivision you want to think of, and the roads haven't been accepted by the county, that mortgage company, Carrie, correct me if I'm wrong, they want proof of who maintains it. Either A, the county, or B, a homeowner association. Most subdivisions that were platted with roads dedicated to the perpetual use of the public don't have a homeowner association. Now, it's been thrown out there, well, they can just form one, and that could be the maintenance entity. Well, that's not really fair to the 10% of the people that already live there. They bought it because it's a county road, and now they're being said, well, now you got to pay $100 a year to maintain the road. Well, we don't want a homeowner association. So that would cause a big conflict. I think this all came up previous to this board was we wanted to prevent damage to subdivision roads. I understand that 120%. Been there and done that. But I think we can do that. Maybe moving forward in any new platted subdivisions, we could set a 50% build-out threshold, whatever we want to decide. But I don't think it's fair to go back to the subdivisions that were, platted, and they honestly believed they were going to be county maintained roads after 3 years. So they petitioned the county to 3 years. I don't think we could, but I don't think it's right to just say, no, we're not going to do it. They're private roads. I think an easier solution would be when someone builds a house, be it a homeowner, contractor, whatever, when the building department does a final inspection, they could just look at the road and see if it needs to be repaired. I know that I've failed a CO before because they have a culvert out there, so they do check. And I just think on the surface, like I said, I've been what Cleve's done, and I looked at it at first, I said, this is great, we've been needing this, but the unintended consequences are we're going to end up, the vacant lots we have are going to stay vacant because people can't get financed. That's what it boils down to. Carrie, I don't know if...
You're absolutely right.
Wait. We're not going to do it like this. We'll get you. You be patient. You finish first, and then we're going to move on.
I'm done. I was going to let somebody that does the mortgage business.
Go ahead.
They're just going to have to come up to the mic, though. You know what I'm going to say.
Come on up here, please, ma'am.
Well, the other issue that we have is if they're dedicated roads to the county, then who owns the roads? So we don't have a homeowners association, the people in the subdivisions don't own the roads, and then we have a maintenance issue. We can't finance properties where there's no road maintenance agreement. So that becomes a big problem just because we've run into this recently for these older subdivisions where the roads were dedicated to the county many years ago and the county's never accepted maintenance of the roads, or I don't know if they temporarily maintained. In some cases I believe that was the case because I do know that we financed properties in these subdivisions before where we had roads from the county saying they were maintaining them, and now they are no longer. So yeah, it's a problem. It's a problem for the people who bought in those subdivisions. It's a problem for the builders who bought lots in those subdivisions with the builders and developers who spent the money to build the roads according to county specs. If we want to increase our tax base, we certainly need properties in those subdivisions that are paying taxes more than just on a lot. And for us to be able to finance homes in there, we got to resolve this issue.
Could you give an example of a couple of the subdivisions that we're discussing?
The Park, Savannah Forest, Steeplechase, Walker's Mill, the Flowers, the Hammocks,
Okay.
half a dozen.
I understand the plight that we're in. But if we do what you're suggesting, Randy, just grandfather everybody in,
All we're doing is not changing anything. That's the way it is right now. Right now, after 3 years,
2 years.
whatever it is,
Yeah.
2 years, you come in and you apply for maintenance, you go before the board, Cleve does a punch list. I've done several of them with Don Kemp. All I'm saying is, don't change what we got now. I'm not saying let's change it to this or that. I've never seen this before, but there is existing laws on the books that say you cannot damage the county roads. And if you do, you're responsible to fix them.
Right.
Well, those rules have been around for years, and I think some insight from Cleve would be very helpful. I know there was previous direction. I don't know if there's really a problem, is what I'm trying to get at.
all I'm concerned about is if a concrete truck comes in there and because we're in this lull now of not building, very slowly building out these subdivisions. 2, 3, 4 years down the road now, a big concrete truck comes in there, and you know what it does to the edge of the pavement. It breaks it off. All I want to hear is that we have the means to enforce somebody fixing it. And
Yes.
who fixes it?
Currently, I don't know if you're familiar with the rule, but we have laws on the book that say if you damage a county road, Cleve, correct me if I'm wrong, you're responsible to fix it. We've enforced it on trucks before that run up and down the highway.
But how do you catch, if you're not out there taking a picture of them doing
Catch it on the CO. Whoever's the contractor, you don't give them their CO till that's fixed. They can find out who damaged the road. That's how you enforce it.
Well, the problem for me primarily is how do you go backwards when you've already, you have these rules on the books, and how do you go backwards?
I'm with you,
We're going to be
Carrie.
sued all over that,
I understand, and I want to get y'all moving in the direction you need to go. I'm fine as long as we have the mechanism to be able to do that. And I want to hear Cleve tell us that it's not going to be an overdue burden on him to be able to accomplish that.
First of all, let's back up to this young lady had just mentioned. You have a loss of roads in this community that have never been county maintained. The road department, as far as I know, and I guess you can contest that, we have never given up maintenance on a road. What we're running into are roads that are in the Summerwood subdivisions that the county has never maintained and will not take over maintenance. Those people are having problems, or similar neighborhoods like that are having problems with mortgages at this point. So what we're primarily talking about tonight are paved roads. And we have the process in place that if we're approached by a developer or an HOA, we've done several of them since I've been here. We do have an inspection list. I've turned down Mr. Merritt before on the road for corrective actions, and we petitioned the board to accept the road, and I guess we just recently had one that wasn't accepted. But if we could put something in place after a 2-year period or a 3-year period from the initial development or the final plats done, and get the cooperation with the building department that before the home is closed out, that make it part of the CO process to repair the pavement in front of the home. But we'd have to have cooperation with the building department, because the last place the public works road department works in Wakulla County is on paved roads. I'm never in the park. I'm never in Hidden Meadows. We just repaved those roads. We spend 85-90% of our time on unimproved dirt roads. So I'd be comfortable if we could develop a policy internally that if we, prior to the closeout of the house, take a picture of the road before the construction starts, then take it afterwards and make that contractor or whoever the responsible party is repair the roads. Because these roads, we have Hidden Meadows is the one I've spent the most time in, because we've had to take that over because the developer, they all went under and left the county holding the bag. Magnolia Gardens, again, the county has inherited a bunch of problems over there. But you've got people living in there, and I guess you've got 4 or 5 families living in these places, and I guess we need to provide them, services, maintenance, because they certainly can't afford to maintain miles of roads in Hidden Meadows or over here in Magnolia Gardens. So as long as we have something in place, I think we could go forward and make something work here.
And like I said, they did fail me on a CO because we didn't have a culvert in. So I know they're looking at some stuff. I think it'd just be a simple matter of Tim telling Frank, when you do your final inspection, have the Cleve could make up something real simple, like what's the shoulder drop off, and just make it part of the final inspection. I don't think it would really add any more time. We certainly don't want him having to go out there and do another inspection.
Okay. Well, let's Donna Carr, you wanted to say something?
I think Miss Arts.
Okay. Go ahead.
Before Cleve sat down, I wanted to ask him another question. Something else
We're going to get you.
you had talked about. Okay. I think the idea that you've been talking about, if it's practical from the building inspection viewpoint, makes sense. But when I was talking to you earlier, you were also saying something about maybe after the 2 years having some kind of a warranty bond. Would that not be needed then if we did this? Or
It may. That's a good point. That we just discussed that. If we have a new development come in and that's we have a 2-year period to where the county does not maintain the road or it's under the warranty of the developer, then what may want to ensure the county's protected, let's go with like a 3-year warranty bond for a couple more years. I mean, but this is where maybe the county attorney can give us some guidance, but we're not out there policing these developments, and like I said, damage can occur. Then it's an argument on who does it. The roads that we have brought before this board for acceptance, we have dealt with one entity, to that be the homeowners association or the actual developer petitioned us, and we dealt with one person. And so if you get away from that, maybe we do need to have a warranty bond there.
Has there been a problem, I guess, Cleve? Have you been, has somebody called you and said, come out here and fix this pothole in my road in this you know what I'm saying? Because that was the whole issue that people would, I know they used to call me and say, come mow Silver Glen for us, we got a showing this weekend. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to mow Silver.
We routinely get calls from the park, the Hidden Meadows, before we did the
to mow the grass?
The pavement, issues, potholes and stuff. Most of the roads are in good shape. What I have done in the past, these roads get so grown up back there, when we're in the area, I will go in there and make one pass to keep the roads from being so dark and narrow and create, a bad environment for safety. But we don't do it for showings or anything else. We just make a determination we're in that area if it's so bad, because some of these places are getting grown up. It's awful.
In other words, I don't think it's a major problem that we're having to address a major issue, and be mindful that even though that lot's vacant, they pay property taxes too.
Well, it was an issue in Hidden Meadows.
That was because the developer left and the county had to call in the bond. That's a totally separate issue. That's not we're speaking strictly of maintenance. That was having to call in a performance bond. That's when he said repave, they paid for it to repave it, not the county. And the sidewalks, they paid for the sidewalks, the bond paid for it.
Yeah, the bonds, all that.
Not the citizens.
Okay.
It seems like what we have here is two separate issues. One of them is what do we do with the subdivisions that are already on the ground, and the other is what do we do with the ones that's coming up. So we can't solve both of those problems in the same language necessarily. We've got to go with pretty much. I agree with Randy on what he was talking about on the solving of the ones that are on the ground, the ones that are the next developer who comes in to build, then we need to have something in place to accommodate taking care of the roads. Somewhere I heard that you could have an MSBU for a subdivision to take care of the roads, that the people, let's say the new development, that the people that bought into that subdivision, it would not be the homeowners association that they'd have to pay into for the roads. So it's not really a cost to them. One way or the other, when the road goes down, they're going to have to fix it, whether they have money aside. If it's a homeowner association, normally they don't have any money, and then a lot of times they're disbanded anyway. But if you had this 200 lot subdivision come in and you just set up an MSBU for the roads and whatever in that subdivision, that just goes along with it.
I think, Jerry, if you had a 200 lot subdivision come in, let's say you want to make it 5 years, you want to make it 50% built out, as long as the people that bought there were aware that,
That's
hey,
correct.
that,
That's
hey,
what
I got to pay for road maintenance until this place is 50% built out. As long as they know that, and there is a maintenance entity, which is the homeowner association, I don't think there'd be an issue then. It's just going back and saying,
I don't want to.
thought you were going to be a county road, but we're not going to maintain it.
I don't want to go.
I think the
I don't want to
answer,
go back.
what action I'd like to see out of this board tonight is just to do nothing.
Okay, let's let Ron Mowry.
Mayor, thank you.
I was going to get to you, Ron.
I understand, but I just thought I could save a lot of time, maybe. Let me just do this in the right order. My name is Ron Mowry. I do own significant property in the county. I own a home on Shoreline Drive. I have a law office over here. I own a lot of other property. I pay a lot of taxes, so I'm a concerned taxpayer. I don't want the county to pay another dime for anything. It's not their responsibility. However, I think we have to be careful and we balance the interest here and look at a fair and equitable solution, and there is one. I'm here on behalf of myself, some bankers, realtors, contractors, developers, and other citizens. And, you know, we're all concerned about jobs. And if we're going to have subdivisions and subdivisions and subdivisions just sitting, not developed, the economy's terrible, so it's going to be slower, then that's not helping anybody with anything. We're creating nothing more than liabilities for the county and financial obligation for the county. I'm sure you all understand what the proposed ordinance says, but out of all due respect, I want to just cover a couple things to be sure why I think it's just a tragedy and it's nothing but trouble for the county if you go that way. First, I think the current ordinance says, and it does say, that upon completion of the subdivision and the roads are certified under Chapter 177 and under Chapter 7 of your LDC, you have to dedicate that. You have to declare that and dedicate that as a public road. You do. And
Wait a minute. After it's built out.
No. Let me.
But you don't have to maintain it, Ron.
But what did you just say? Repeat what you just said. After what?
I said there's a difference in maintenance and there's a difference in what you do when your final plat's approved. The statutes say that it must be, that road shall be deemed dedicated to the public in the statutes. Under your code in 7-22, it provides in your form and contents of your final plat, one of the requirements is a statement by the owner dedicating the streets, rights-of-ways, and any sites and roadways for public use. Now, my point is, so you move on forward, the public's now going to use that road on a regular basis. And the owner, developer, whoever it is, gets no break from ad valorem taxes. So some part of our ad valorem taxes is paying to maintain that main part of that road. I think your engineering studies would tell you that the main part of the road is not being damaged. It's that the driveways at all the houses. But it currently says that upon the expiration of 2 years, and it says your road and bridge, your bridge man shall go inspect. And when he inspects, what he's supposed to do then, after the 2 years expired, he shall examine the road for approval. If deficiencies are found, they shall be corrected prior to final acceptance for maintenance. Doesn't say anything about the homeowner, developer has to go ask the county to do it. This is the law. Never mind what policy you may have been following. The law says your bridge department guy, county road guy, shall examine just to see if there are any deficiencies. But I suggest that it's not discretionary at that point. It's accepted by the county upon presentation. You have no way out of that. Now,
Ron, who you suggest repairs it if it is damaged?
well, let me go on. Because right now, within that 2-year period, your bridge guy goes out the end of 2 years and inspects. If it's damaged, it has to be improved. It has to be. Then it's certified again. Then it comes before you, and you accept it for maintenance. That's the way your law reads. You're proposing now to say that once it's submitted, it's turned over to you in the final plat. First off, you're changing it. If it's now your law says any subdivision with a lot under 5 acres must be paved. Now it's 10 acres, so you're doubling that requirement. So every subdivision with 10 acres or less, 10 acre or less lots must be paved. So you pave your roads, then it becomes dedicated to the public in the county, and then the public uses the road. And then now you say, yeah, but then you have to wait until 90% of those lots are sold and the property is developed as intended by the plat.
That's a good point. Where did that get thrown?
And then, even so, at the end of 10 years, then you have it inspected, and then you have to warrant it and guarantee it for another 2 years. Now, what's the impact on people if you make those changes? The impact is Capital City Bank has over $2 million in owned real estate that they own because of foreclosures, defaults. They now own the property. And they're in this situation with these very kinds of issues. So, whether you're a bank, now you've got underwriting guidelines. You can't make these kind of loans anymore where you're going to have uncertainty forever, cost to maintain a road. So that's a real problem. In my opinion, I've only been practicing for 42 years. I would tell you this is not a procedural change. Your change in the law is substantive. Going to have serious economic and financial consequences caused directly to owners, developers, homeowners, and individual property and owners and taxpayers. And that's going to result in some litigation. It just will. It has to. So what do we do? What's the solution? If, as your ordinance that's proposed says, the concern is with damage caused during construction of houses, then I proposed an ordinance, and I sent it down. Everybody should have it. Anyone in the audience that doesn't, I have more copies. And it's pretty simple. And I think it simplifies and makes the law very clear. It merely says, I don't even have to read it. It just says what you're going to do is, anytime a lot is improved in any subdivision, the developer, the contractor, has to apply for a CO when the house is completed. So all I've done, and it addresses Clee's concern as well. Look on the bottom of page 1. It just says, upon the issuance of, you're going to amend the law to read this way, under 8-57 of your code, upon the completion of construction, alteration, or repair of a restructure, and the repair of any damage caused during construction to any road, right-of-way, roadway, or easement with a common boundary to the subdivided lot upon which construction has taken place and certification thereof, the building inspector shall then issue the CO. So, that's what's happening anyway. The developer wants to get his road taken over for maintenance. If the contractor has damaged the road, the contract developer making sure it's addressed. Now, you also have another other ordinance in place already that says if you bring heavy trucks on county roads, you've got to repair the damage. But then, how do you find that guy? Well, you don't have to. He's right here. He's going to, anybody who builds on that road and damages that road, and that's where the damage takes place. It's where he's turning off the road, turning onto the property, putting the drive. That's where the damage is occurring. The contractor must repair any damage and have it certified to the same DOT standards as before, or he doesn't get a CO. And trust me, they're going to fix it because they want a CO. They won't get the rest of their money. That resolves the problem.
Is that, that's for the subdivisions that are on the ground today,
It's for all of them. It doesn't matter.
the ones coming forward? I believe maybe Donna Card probably wrote that for you, because Donna and I discussed the same thing to the very
Well, I will
identical-
tell you, we had a meeting, and she did suggest she had talked to you, but I
No,
haven't forgotten how. I really did
No.
draft it.
That's- yeah. That was-
But there, and I think it addresses the issue, well, what about going forward? You have a 2-year requirement now, so even beyond the 2-year requirement, you don't need anything else, because the contractor can't get a CO if it's in year 3, 5, or 9, if he's damaged the road. He has to complete it and certify it's completed, or he doesn't get his CO.
That's what I wanted to hear. That makes sense.
Did I give you one that I meant?
I got it.
Okay, but
I
that,
mean, the way I was reading it, I didn't understand it the way you're explaining
Yes,
it now.
sir.
It makes perfectly good sense.
Now, that does not cover, I want to take the other side here too, just because I've been in Cleve's shoes, that does not cover if the culvert gets stopped up. If there's a pothole formed in the middle of the road. To me, that's what the 2-year period is to kind of flesh all those issues out. And if a pothole develops in year 5, we should just go fix it. I mean, I don't think it's a major problem, because when they get Cleve to look at it, they submit test results for the base, which were never done in the past, by the way, test results for the asphalt, assuring that it was built to county standards. You know, they would check the striping, all the signage, all that's got to be there. So after 2 years, I don't think it's a major crisis.
when we met, I said, no, let's not just oppose it. We've got to find a solution. So how do we protect the county and the citizens, developers, contractors? You know, it makes the guy who did the damage pay for it, and it
And
protects
that's all I
the
care about.
county. Yes, sir. So I would encourage you. I have a 2-hour presentation I was going to make, but I'll simplify it
Yeah, we're
because I have another meeting at town at 7:30.
We got
So,
our minds made up.
so you won't get all the rest of it. But the bottom line is, I think this addresses your issue in a fair and equitable way. I think it's easily enforceable. No one can challenge it, and I would strongly encourage you to not pursue the other, because, and I didn't go all through an analysis. I have about a 5-page analysis of things that are wrong. I mean, you even refer to lots versus parcels versus other things. They don't make sense, but, so please consider this instead,
All
if you
right,
would.
while you're
Yes.
still there, let me ask,
Sure.
Ms. Gaby,
Up to the mic, please.
can you come up here? I want to make sure this, I mean, if we do nothing, right now it sounds like you still got a roadblock with the way it exists right now if we do nothing.
Well, the roads that have been dedicated to the county needs to agree to maintain.
There
There's gonna
is
be
no problem right
a
now.
rash of roads coming in
But
very
it sounds
quickly.
like she's got a problem.
There'll be a rash of roads coming in very quickly.
This will solve it.
Waiting, they're just dragging it out.
Here's the problem, how it started.
Years, and they didn't,
They,
apparently.
a subdivision or two came before this board and said, all right, Cleve's inspected our roads, he signed off on them, everything's good, will you take them over for maintenance? And the board said no. That's one of the problems, is the board said, no, we're not going to take them for maintenance. For whatever reason, I don't know what it was, why the board voted to not accept maintenance on them. Maybe it was nobody lived there, such and such. That's one issue. There is no assurance. Now, as far as taking it out of the board's hands, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. There may be some compelling issue. I don't know, but they don't know that we're going to accept them for maintenance after 2 years, like the policy says. And I think the other issue is just being able to bring them before us before the 90% build-out thing is really scary. If it's just the 2 years, bring them before us, that's one issue. Allow them to just bring them before us. The other issue is a couple subdivisions have been denied. I don't know what subdivisions they were, but they were county-dedicated roads.
All right, Randy, how do we fix this issue for the banks and all that has this foreclosed, this issue that we got where they have?
Follow the procedure we have in place right
They
now.
need to come back and
Remember that letter you got from the park the other night? That they said that we wanted you to take over our roads?
Yeah.
They should have given that to Cleve. All right?
But how do we fix what you said the past board has voted to
I don't know.
deny that we had to petition.
They have to come back.
You just have those people who were denied. Anybody who has a subdivision where the roads are certified, 2 years have passed, and they're now certified again, you have to approve those.
So re-petition the board for those that we disapproved before?
I think you bring it for the board, and the board has to, I don't know how the board does not approve those.
We could, or
That's
we
how you address
could,
them.
not tonight, but we could just revise the policy and take us out of it. Once the road department certifies the roads are done according to what the ordinance says, then they're county maintained. That takes the politics out of it.
We can certainly do that amendment as well, Mr.
Okay,
Chairman.
yeah, thank y'all. Let's let, you're done, Ron, is that right?
I have a question for him.
And if we got some more questions, stay there. Okay,
Sure.
go ahead.
Well, I would just like to hear from our Assistant County Attorney, and also I would like Heather's input. I'm sorry she's not here, but...
Yeah, we have seen Mr. Mowry's proposed ordinance, and I believe, like the commissioners, we received it this afternoon to review. And, you know, just on first glance, we did have some concerns with of turning over the responsibility of repairing or maintaining portions of a road that might be damaged during construction to the adjacent property owner who might be building a house, only because, and we also discussed this with the building official, just because, first of all, you may have instances where a property, the owner who's coming in for approval of a CO, you know, either they may not have been the one who caused the damage. It's also possible that there could be damage to a roadway within a subdivision that is not directly in front of the house that's being constructed and that's coming in for approval of a CO.
Point about the culverts or the pothole in the middle of the road.
You know, if the damage is at the place where, you know, the road turns, you know, 3 or 4 lots down, under this ordinance isn't going to fix it. In addition, there could end up being increased oversight or inconsistencies in the way the roads are paved. Cleve might, we haven't discussed that with him. He may not have that as a concern. But, you know, in general, as far as maintaining roads, you know, you are not required by statute or ordinance to take over roads that have been dedicated. That is always the option of the county. That has been, I believe, the practice in the past, and if you choose to continue that, that's definitely, you know, the board can make that policy decision. You know, I think one of the concerns that was outlined in the agenda item with regard to warranties is that the way the warranty is set up, provision is set up currently, the existing ordinance only requires that the warranty be in existence 2 years from the time the subdivision is platted. That can create problems because if the subdivision property owners do not petition the county to take over maintenance of the road at the very beginning of that 2 years, there really isn't a 2-year warranty. It's 2 years from the time the subdivision is approved, not from the time it's taken over. So, you know, if you guys decide you do want to go with some other alternate or leave it as it is, you know, you can always extend the warranty time frame or change it so that it's 2 years from the time the county takes over the road, to help cover any additional concerns, you know, related to the construction process.
I don't have additional concerns.
I don't either.
You may not, I mean,
Leave it
and that's
alone.
fine.
Leave
If
it
you
like
want to
it
leave
is
it
right now.
alone,
Yeah, I think we're looking for what could happen, may happen,
yeah.
whatever. We're just anticipating something that may never happen.
We don't need Mr. Mowry's ordinance. I think we just need
I
to leave
agree,
it like
just
it
leave it
is.
alone. But what I'm concerned about is how do we fix this issue that carries in with the banks not being able to loan against
What-
the roads that's been discontinued?
What would need to happen is the subdivisions that have roads that are not currently being maintained, but that have been dedicated on the plats, they would need to re-petition the county for, to request that you take those over.
Our long-term solution, I think, in my mind, would be to take us out of it. We got a checklist here. Once Don or Cleve, Public Works Department says they know a lot more about roads than, I'm not going to say all of us, but most of us sitting on this board. So they know what needs to be fixed. If they're happy, we should be happy.
I will add that one reason, I wasn't here, obviously, whenever that decision was made to put you guys in the process, but One consideration that, or one reason that may be there, for instance, is that every time the county takes over another road for maintenance, there are increased maintenance costs to the county. So as the budgetary decision makers, it may be, part of it was before the county takes on additional maintenance obligations that they do that.
I actually wrote the policy.
Yeah. So you may, and that may have been a consideration.
And, no, the consideration was that everybody kept saying, we want something formal. We want something on paper, realtors would want it, or banks would want it. We want something on paper saying it's county maintained. I thought, well, we'll just put it before the board then it'll be in the minutes. Now, maybe there's a different way to accomplish that goal. That was my solution. That's why I put on the policy to bring it before the board so there'd be something official. But there are other ways to make something official. Mr. Barden or the county administrator could sign a piece of paper, that Cleve could write a letter, I assume we blah, 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 then it's non-political.
I basically think we need to follow Mr. Maury's ordinance. He's looked at the law, he's looked at our rules. If we don't follow what he said, we're open for suits.
I don't think we need a new ordinance.
This is
a new ordinance that Ron proposed.
This doesn't replace what we, does this replace what we have?
It doesn't replace, it just makes
adds,
it clear.
clears.
It just clears up by making the contractor who's building the house responsible before he gets a CO to repair the road. Let me say one thing. I don't agree you can apply a policy you want to when you have a law that says to the contrary. Your law says upon 2 years, your road and bridge guy shall inspect, and if he finds deficiencies, then it says you petition the county. It doesn't say the county commission. So out of all due respect, be careful enforcing policies when you have a law to the contrary. That'll get you in trouble.
I think we ought to accept this ordinance. We can't do it tonight, of course.
I think we have existing law on the books. Again, it says if you damage a road, you got to repair it, basically. It's a very generic statement. I think we have existing law. All we need is policy, which Mr. Barden could do, or under Cleve's recommendation. I don't think we need a new law. We just need a policy that interprets the existing law we have. I don't think there's, again, we've spent about 45 minutes talking about this. There's no big crisis issue out there if we don't change anything. That was what got everybody up in arms, is changing it from the way it was to now you got to be 90% built out, which 90% of the subdivisions out there are not 90% built out, if that makes any sense.
It won't be ever. People like to keep
Mr. Chairman, I agree that we propose this because we want to give you an alternative. If you're going to change the law, please look at this. If you're not going to, and I suggest you don't have to. It's worked for as long as I can remember. It worked when I was here for almost 29 years. We never had a fight over any of that. Every road got maintained and certified and turned over like they should have been.
Then basically we just take the roads that we have out there, accept them into the county, and go forward.
I believe you're obligated, if when the 2 years passes, your road guy inspects the roads. If they meet the standards, the county on petition accepts the roads, period.
Let me give you one more example on how well this works. I'm sorry, Ron.
Well, I totally agree with you.
Just want to make sure everybody understands that it does work. I went to Cleve to try to get Mallard Pond roads accepted. I didn't own it, of course, and this has been several years. I was representing the owner, Triple H Construction, and I didn't have the asphalt and base test results. I don't know where they're at, but anyway, I didn't have them, so I couldn't produce them. So the road, Brent, he'd tell you, he said, you got to bring these in, and I don't have them. And guess what? They're not maintained by the county to this date. So the system is working.
Well, that's what we're talking about.
Yes, sir.
So I'd say we do nothing.
Let's don't reinvent. Well, we've got to do something. We've got to accept these people.
So that solves their problem.
Right.
Yeah.
They can let those people identify and repetition and have it addressed and be done with it.
Come on up, Don.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mallard.
Thank you for allowing me to speak.
I appreciate you having Donna help you with that ordinance.
Here, we'll give her the credit.
Jerry, get out of here. No, I just want to say that, there are a lot of subdivisions that are well past the 2-year period, and nothing has ever been said about those subdivisions. And I would like to remind you, those are nice subdivisions that brings tax dollars to this community. And unfortunately, a lot of them have been turned over back to the bank, and the bank is now stuck with them as far as trying to sell them. However, they still have
$500 worth of taxes on each one of those lots per year, roughly, let's just use that as an example, versus $875 for 1,100 acres that they were paying as agricultural. Plus, that developer came in here, stuck his neck out, and put in a lot of situations, sewer, because it was required for the size lot in those subdivisions, and those people bought in good faith a property that is a platted subdivision that says right on the plat that those are county roads with the assumption that they're going to be maintained. Now, we have provided tax revenue from those lots that are not built on. There has been revenue collected on each of those every year. Even if they're delinquent, they get sold as a tax certificate. So therefore, it's well past 2 years. Most of those subdivisions were built in the height of everything, 2005, 2006. And now, those people, those developers assumed that those roads were accepted or would be accepted because there was never any contact by Road and Bridge to say there's something wrong. And it's unfair to the homeowners that have bought in there. It's unfair to those developers that spent millions of dollars in this county to bring our standard of living up considerably. And I really urge you to take a serious look at the amount of money that you've collected versus having a 10-acre tract of land with something on it that did not produce any tax revenue whatsoever. We have increased our quality of life in this county immensely.
Okay. Lynn?
I just want to make sure I understand. This is a situation where the bank now owns the development?
In a lot of situations, the bank, not all of them,
Okay,
but there are situations where that's happened, Lynn. But when the developer came in good faith and built these subdivisions, they built them, and they had, before the final plat was approved before the county commission, those roads were inspected. There were bores. There was proof that those roads were built to county standards.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to understand. If the 2 years has passed and the developer's no longer in the picture, that it's now we're asking either the bank or the homeowners association to petition the board or to ask the board to start maintaining
Well,
it
yes,
or accept
and
the road.
That's not the main issue. The main issue is that we were going to change the rule to say 90% build out instead of 2 years. That's the main issue.
The previous board, if I may interrupt, the previous board had provided direction to staff and to our office to draft the current ordinance due to concerns that I guess there was an instance where a road was not accepted, and the concern of the board at the time was that the roads, because the subdivision was not very far along, that the county would be taking over maintenance of the subdivision when there was still a substantial amount of construction, and what would be the impacts to the roads of that construction. So that's where the build-out came in.
I know that history.
Yeah.
My question is, though, I thought we just said if we leave everything as is, then the ones that were turned down need to come back.
Yes.
But also, all the other ones that are out there and didn't come to us need to come to us, right?
If they want their roads maintained by the county, yes.
Okay, is it awkward then that if the bank owns them or whatever for them to come?
Whoever's
No?
the owner.
Okay.
Typically, when you do a
okay.
subdivision, you'll have a articles of incorporation. There'll be kind of a quasi, I guess, homeowner association, and whoever's the majority stakeholder, I guess, in the lots, it's a little complicated, but who petitions the county is a little complicated in some cases, but it hasn't been a problem for us so far. I personally think we should take us out of the decision-making process and let it strictly be.
But if it's the 2 years has passed, and then the 2 years has passed,
Right.
and there's been some intervening years,
Right.
and the roads now aren't going to be at the standard where they would be accepted, then that's
Get
just the
accepted.
way
Yep,
it is.
That's just the
Okay.
way it is. They got to go fix them. I mean, we had a very long list for songbird of things, and Ben can tell you of things they had to fix, culverts, clogged, blah, blah, blah.
Just one quick thing. The county, by resolution, must accept for maintenance by statute. I can draft and send to your county attorney a form resolution. You can put on your consent agenda with the petition, with the certification from your road and bridge man that it's up to that it complies, it meets the standards. It'll be on your consent agenda. It's automatic. Let me tell you this. My staff called about 11 surrounding counties, and you know how many have something like this, like was proposed? None. Not one.
Yeah. Well, I think we're fine with leaving it like it is. I just want to get this other snafu squared away.
So, I mean, and I'm happy through whoever can identify those on their behalf. I'll make sure we get a list and they're brought before the board. I hope we put on the consent agenda in proper form with an approved ordinance, and it's a standard ordinance. I've prepared hundreds of them in my career with the certification from your county road and bridge man with a petition, and they should be automatic under your current law. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Happy
Brian
to
Plant. Brian, you had...
Well, he's basically spoke about
Okay.
everything.
Good answer,
Good
Brian.
answer.
Good answer, good answer.
Okay. If there's, I mean, let's don't beat a dead horse. So we can't do anything else tonight about it, except somebody's going to have to bring it back.
We just don't do it.
Commissioner Stewart, you don't have to bring anything
Okay.
back. If you don't want to do anything with the...
But we need to fix this snafu still. That's gonna
Well,
take
all
time.
they would need to do is bring back new requests for approval for acceptance of their roads, and we can draft
Do
those
that.
resolutions.
Yeah, okay.
I would recommend that Ron draft a resolution or whatever you say that would,
It's a form resolution.
We never did a resolution before.
We have an attorney. Let's let them do the resolution. I mean, if we need Ron's help, then they'll ask. But I mean, we're certain we should be capable of doing that, shouldn't we? We should be able to do the resolution to get this
Well, sure,
snafu squared
but
away.
I want to get, if I'm going to get these prepare these on a petition with a consent agenda, I want to have an approved resolution, give you a package so we don't hit any snafus and they all come
I
before you.
don't want to sound silly, but why do we need a resolution? Why can't we
No.
just vote to accept the road, and that's it?
Okay, that's
My
all I
statute.
said. Somebody's got to put it on the agenda.
No, you
I
can't.
think our office would probably agree with Mr. Mowry that
You have to by
a
statute.
resolution would be helpful to make sure there's an official record or document that says these roads were accepted for maintenance by the county on this day. It wouldn't be a very difficult thing to request. I think probably before that happens, any of the subdivisions would probably want to just get with Cleve to make sure. I don't know when the roads were originally petitioned, but as long as they meet the road criteria, I don't see.
That's one of the things I'm currently, some entity comes to us and requests acceptance of the road. I don't have a calendar saying these roads are, when these roads are there. I also have to have a point person to, when we need, your land development code requires the test reports, requires the corrective action. I just can't go out there and say, okay, this subdivision has been out for 2 years, let's petition the board to take it. The 2 years, this is getting a little more complicated than it's been. I mean, there's only one road, as far as I know, that's been turned down. That was Mr. Boynton's at the last board. We have always had either a homeowners association or the developer, and sometimes they waited 3 or 4 years. But it clearly states in the thing, you have to petition the county to come out there, and we as soon as
It doesn't say that. Your law does not say that. It absolutely does not say that.
Anyway,
The policy
at
does.
some point in time, guys, I have to. The road and the bridge has to know when to request it. I mean, you want to create a department that does nothing but ride around these developments and count days till it's time to.
May I
set
help?
the road?
I'm going to help Cleve. We're going to identify a list of all those that need it to bring it current, and I'll help with him. We'll help adopt a procedure and bring before you as to something that'll require a point person going forward, so Cleve won't have to go hunting Easter eggs.
Who's paying you to do all this?
I don't know yet.
Don't charge us, Ron. That's all I'm saying. I mean,
Yeah, I don't work
be
for you.
respectful here.
I elected not to. I don't work for you.
We have an attorney
No.
saying, I got to make sure that we don't.
No, you're not hiring me. I don't work for the county.
Okay.
But I would tell you, though, under Chapter 177 Florida statutes, you must adopt a resolution. Not discretionary, you must, that's why I want to do a resolution.
We agree with that, Ron. I do want to bring it back to the board.
Yeah.
But also, by not having these subdivisions and all have changed owners and stuff, our files, although a lot of the files are very complete, a lot of the files we have are very incomplete. So again, information that we require in there, who do I go to? I mean, who's the point person for this development in the future? The ones that we have done have worked great. I mean, we're petitioned, we review the files, we get corrective actions out there, typically they're taken care of, and we bring it to the board. So,
Who do you suggest it be?
I don't know, but I'm just saying some of these subdivisions that were built or grown up, I don't have a clue who owns them or when they were built or anything else, but I'm not...
All the developer or subdivision property owners would need to do is, within themselves, decide who they want to contact Cleve.
That's fine. I might have somebody...
And if they want it to be Mr. Mowry as their representative, that's just fine. I mean, he can come before them and say, this subdivision is ready, we want Cleve to come out and do his thing.
That's not what your law requires. Quit saying that, please. Show me the law.
Well, the ordinance, section 7-42, says that developers, let me see, when the warranty
I want to discuss this amongst yourselves.
Yeah,
I think
we
we're
can
done.
discuss this at another...
Well, I don't want to read the law. I think we're done.
I'd make one suggestion. I have no problem as long as Ron's not charging the county for he and Cleve to get together and figure out how you want to bring a resolution.
Ms. Carr's going to identify all the old ones, and then I'll try to help figure, and I'll certainly do with the county attorney, how to go forward. And that next one is recorded, so you'll know going forward who that contact person is. If they have an HOA, then there's a registered agent. It's real easy.
Listen, our responsibility, guys, I know you're in a rush to get out of here, but in the end, our responsibility is to make sure Cleve can do his job. I don't want him floundering around out there without the power or the understanding of... That's all I'm trying to do tonight. I want to make sure he's got what he needs.
Listen, you require every subdivision to have a homeowners association. That's a Florida corporation. They have to have a registered agent. It's not brain surgery, but I'll help figure that out.
Okay.
That's right.
I'm happy to help. I'm glad to help.
I don't think there's a problem for myself.
You made that abundantly clear, right?
I agree with...
Hey, hold on. Wait on, guys.
No, I agree with Mike. I think this agenda item raised a number of issues, and I'm not sure we've worked all of those out yet. And I'm not sure...
I just want Cleve to have, and we should want Cleve to have the ability to figure it out.
Nobody's arguing that. That's
Okay.
Yeah, just one more time. Basically, the way we've been working this, we're petitioned either... When we're petitioned, we do the inspection. It's a very smooth process. And that's it's worked good. Like I said, other than Mr. Boynton, I don't know if any road's ever been turned down.
I think what Cleve is saying is everything working just fine right now. Is that what you're saying?
That's what it is. But I am concerned about some of
Except
these
it says
developments that
Right.
Except the problem with the current language of this section is Public Works is often not aware of when the 2-year warranty period starts or ends. In addition, if the petition comes directly to Public Works, we have a final maintenance accepted checklist that is prepared and utilized.
Well, the only, Ms. Arch, the final plat will be dated, of course, and that'll be public record, but that doesn't necessarily mean the roads were built to that date. There's been a few subdivisions in the past that have bonded their improvements. You could easily find a bond release date, because if that developer paved those roads, I'm sure they wanted their bond released. So there are methods to at least get pretty close to the date. The roads were finished. They should have produced test results, like Cleve said. Some of the records may not be there. Maybe going forward, of course, when I was there, you had to produce, and I'm probably the one that lost the records, but they had to produce records of the testing the base, testing the asphalt when the roads were built. Then they retest them again after 2 years. So that's, theoretically, if everything worked like it should have worked, there should be a piece of paper with test results on it and a date. Now, this is not an ideal world, so maybe that doesn't exist for all of them, but I think we can figure out pretty close when the roads were built.
My thought process is have Ron with our attorney, with Cleve, knowing what we're asking, to just take these things according to the law. Let y'all get together and work it out.
I don't think we need to do anything personally.
Well, we got to do something. Ron says we have to do something.
No, you can leave the law the way it is,
Okay?
but we'll identify those older ones that should have been accepted for maintenance already, if they met the standard. And then we'll help develop a process going forward. So Cleve will know, anybody would know, Cleve or his the successor would
As
know who
long
that person
as long as we're not grandfathering just a blanket everybody who,
No.
you know what I'm saying? I don't want to do that.
It's gotta be a certified
Okay,
road.
okay.
Then there are at least two
I'm with you. I'm fine with that.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Y'all, we're through. Thank y'all.
Thank you.